Hi, everybody. You just moved locations. We want to welcome you to the Democratic Issues Conference. But note what great weather we brought you today. We want to thank Ted and Pete for organizing this, and this is going to be a really good time for all of us to talk together. We know we're really excited to be with each other for these next few days and the chance to be with fellow House Democrats to come together and to plan for the next 2 years ahead. I have one message for you guys today. We are united. We showed yesterday that House Democrats stand firmly against Donald Trump and Elon Musk's chaos and House Republican schemes to slash Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. We will continue to show that what you saw yesterday, I know you want to see us. You're going to see that unity in the weeks and the months ahead as we expose and talk about what the House Republican budget does to Medicaid, taking away health care from tens of millions of Americans. And what we're really going to do is lift the voice of real people. Veterans who've lost their jobs at the VA, medical researchers who've been fired from the labs, and countless others who are the victims of Trump and Musk chaos. That's what we're all working on, raising the stories, letting the American people see what the impact of what's happening is. Why are Trump and Republicans subjecting the American people to this chaos? And even more, why are they making people hurt and hurting them the way they are, these cruel cuts? Let's be clear, to give tax cuts to billionaires. It's a clear message. If you've been out there like I have, and I've been talking to a lot of people, the American people are on our side. Our job over the next 21 months is to make sure that voters are hearing this message loud and clear, and we're going to keep repeating it over and over. And that's exactly what DPC and our entire caucus intends to do. So with that, let me turn it over to Maxwell.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. In January, Donald Trump and House Republicans inherited a growing economy with inflation coming down. I remember during the election, right after Donald Trump won, I was having a discussion with some friends, and I said, it's going to be kind of similar to what happened his first term. He's going to come into a growing economy and then take credit for it 6 months in. But this guy is so incompetent, and he's failing so much that he took that growing economy and inflation coming down and actually completely reversed it. And now people are using the R word. We hope we don't go into a recession. We hope that doesn't happen to American people. But we got to be clear that Donald Trump's reckless policies, all in service of billionaires, are really harming working families, from the Trump tariffs to the cuts to essential programs that people have earned. He has completely turned around the ship in a really bad way. The economic announcement that Donald Trump has made has plunged the stock markets into a free fall, costing jobs and wiping out retirement savings. And at the same time, he's trying to ask all these government workers to retire. They're looking at their 401ks, they're looking at the stock market at the same time as he's trying to make that proposition. And at the same time that this is going on, where's Donald Trump? He's outside turning the south lawn of the White House into a commercial for Tesla. You know, a few weeks ago, I got my words taken down in the Oversight Committee for calling Trump a grifter in chief. And a week later, he does something that proves me right in saying that, and proves all of us right in saying how corrupt he is and this administration is. That he would, in front of the White House, in front of the executive, do a commercial for Elon Musk. Why? It's because he cares more about corrupt billionaires like Elon than he does about the American people. Amid this chaos, Democrats have a clear message. We're fighting for and with working people. When I went home this weekend, everywhere I went to the grocery store, I had people come up to me asking me, is my Social Security going to be okay? I did a town hall at the VA with Darren Soto. I had a guy come up to me, multiple, who said, I voted for Donald Trump. I'm a veteran. I'm very worried about my benefits. I'm very worried about what's going to happen here at the VA. You know, a lot of my colleagues keep saying, the people spoke, so I guess we can cut Medicaid, we can cut Social Security, without realizing that the people are speaking. And that's part of the reason why they've decided to cancel all their town halls, because they don't like what the people are saying. The people don't want these cuts to these programs that they've earned. And this is our winning message, talking about the fact that the voters are with us, and the work now is to ensure that the voters are being heard. So thank you so much, and I'll yield to Lauren.
Thank you. Thanks, Maxwell. The good news for Democrats is that House Republicans and Donald Trump are making our messaging work easier for us. The chaos that Elon Musk has unleashed in our communities by laying off public servants who provided critical services is deeply unpopular. And the budget that House Republicans are pushing puts Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security on the chopping block, which virtually no one anywhere supports. Right now, DPCC and all House Democrats are working to ensure the American people understand what's happening and how Democrats are fighting back to protect them. Tomorrow, our caucus will have an opportunity to take a deeper dive into how the people get their information and how that's changing and what Democrats must do to meet voters in digital spaces. In the months ahead, we will continue to prioritize reaching new audiences while making sure that our messaging remains clear and concise. Democrats are fighting for working people and fighting to stop cruel cuts, and we're fighting to stop tax breaks for the billionaires. With that, I yield to Lori.
Well, thanks, Lauren. Good afternoon, everyone. It's not just that Donald Trump's approval numbers are failing or that the Republicans' trust on the economy has cratered in just 2 short months. The anger that Americans feel about what Trump and Musk are doing is palpable across the country, both in swing seats and in Republican seats. It's no wonder that the NRCC has advised Republicans to stop holding town halls. That's not a problem for House Democrats. During the last district work period, 118 members of our caucus held at least one town hall, and we have dozens more planned for the district work period next week. These town halls are crowded. They are full of energy, and the folks coming in have a simple message. They want to stop Trump and Musk from taking away their health care so that billionaire GOP donors can get another tax cut. While House Republicans continue to hide from their constituents, Democrats will continue to listen to the American people. We will continue to fight for them. And we will remain, just as the theme of this year's Issues Conference says, united to win. Thank you. I yield to Debbie.
So thanks to all my colleagues, and now we will entertain questions. But if you want to go drink, it's okay with us too. I don't know, Nick, I'm not going to go to you. I'll go over here. I'll come to you later. I will come to you.
House Democrats obviously are calling on Senate Democrats to hold the line, stand firm, vote this GOP funding bill down. But I wonder if you are concerned that President Trump may be okay with a government shutdown, given his perspective on the federal government, given what he and Elon Musk and the DOJ folks are doing to federal agencies. Are you concerned that if the government shuts down, they may be okay with that?
We are very clear that we think there should be a short-term continuing resolution that's clean, that lets us do the appropriation process in a regular and normal way. And we are united on that. Nick.
Well, I want to ask, in a similar vein, you guys all stayed united earlier this week on the vote on the continuing resolution. Do you want Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats to be more vocal in their opposition, given that this was a tough vote for a lot of House members?
Did you just see the New York Times? That Schumer is, Democrats aren't going to help Republicans, but I'll let any of you with that want to answer, Laura.
Thank you. I think our actions speak on our unity. There's no question that Democrats have been united against giving, in terms of voting for a CR that would cut veterans' health care, so many things, giving Elon Musk further ability to just rummage through the government and make cuts and fire folks and allow Republicans to abdicate their Article 1 responsibility to Elon Musk. We are united on that, and I think that's why we're so supportive of Senate Democrats today, making sure that we do everything we can to have a short-term, clean CR so that we can work this out together in a bipartisan way rather than allow these cuts to hurt the American people.
So, you guys talked a little bit about this, that Democrats are going to be using a lot of social media and different tactics to reach voters where they are. You've already started to do some of that, and some of that has really made an impact, and some of that has been ridiculed by some Republicans. How do you find that intersection of reaching younger voters, reaching middle-class voters through different social media tactics or even messaging platforms, and then also making sure that you're still presenting a unifying message to the rest of your base?
Either of you want to start?
We're taking advantage of the opportunity to reach the American people using all the tools available to us. We have a responsibility to meet voters and constituents where they are, and many of them are online. And so you're increasingly seeing House Democrats take advantage of the opportunity to have a direct conversation with our constituents about the work that we're doing on their behalf here in Washington. If folks want to ridicule or point things out, if the White House wants to tweet at us, that means that we're getting under their skin. And if anything, it's expanding our reach. And so if they want to join us in that effort to communicate directly to the American people, that's fine. Last week, we had 50 million people interacting with our content, and I would call that a success.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd add is they're going to ridicule everything that we do.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first got to Congress, they ridiculed me because I had trouble getting an apartment because I'm not a rich person, and I wasn't a rich person when I got to Congress, and they ridiculed me for that. So they're so out of touch. Anything that we do, they're going to ridicule, but that doesn't guide where we're going. What guides where we're going is fighting for working people, fighting with working people, fighting for young people, fighting for seniors, fighting for veterans. And so we're not going to allow what the White House tweets out to dictate our message and what we're going to do. We want to reach out to the masses. We know more people are getting their information and their news from many different sources, and we want to be there front and center to talk about our message, with which most people in this country agree with.
Back there.
I wanted to ask you about the town halls and the fact that many Republicans are not doing town halls in their districts. I've seen some Democratic members say they're going to start doing town halls in Republicans' districts. I'm curious if that is part of a larger strategy, if that's an approach that is being encouraged. And also, when you do these town halls, what kind of reassurances can you give these people, given that the midterms are over a year away, and there's really not that much the Democrats can do, especially when Republicans, like we saw yesterday for the CR, are united in their backing of Trump?
So I'm going to start with your last question and then turn it over to my colleagues. I've probably had more town halls than most here. I started the first weekend, and I haven't stopped. Note to self, don't ever do two back-to-backs. I had one with 11,000 people from 5:30 to 6:30 and left, and did one for 3 hours with more than 1,000 people, 2 overflow rooms. And people were intense, and they had a lot of questions, but they respected me. And I did it with my state legislators, and we answered questions. I'm accessible. I did one with Indivisible and all the Indivisible groups the week before and several others. And I try to do 2 or 3 a weekend, to be perfectly frank. People want to see you. They want to know you're accessible. They want you to answer questions. And I don't make people false promises. When we're standing here and I can't tell you what it's like everybody's talked about it in a different way. It's the firemen from Detroit that came up to me and said, tell me my pension and Social Security are going to be okay. I can't make a promise, and I won't make a false promise. I went to my asthma doctor, and I said to him, I've told him all the story, before I ever got to the doctor, 25 different people stopped me, from doctors who were worried about their research grants. And normally, because I go to U of M, when you walk in, they don't They were so scared. The nurse who took my blood pressure's sister had been fired the night before. I said, from where? She said she was crying so hard she couldn't tell me. The mother who was wheeling her child in a wheelchair and said, what are you going to do to make sure I can bring my child back if anything happens? The seniors that were scared to death that stuff was going to, you got to be there. You got to answer their questions. You got to tell them to care, and you got to tell them to be engaged. And we're not running away from doing it. We're making ourselves accessible, and that is what we have to do. Any of you want to answer the first question? All right. You want to say?
I was just going to say, in my community, I talk about my commitment to the people of the 14th, which is to be accessible, transparent, and responsive. I don't see my Republican colleagues making that same commitment to their constituents. And I think that in this moment, the American people want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. They want to understand what's going on. They hear a lot of words when they engage with the news, but they want to know how it impacts them. And I think as much as we can show up and talk to people, listen, give people an opportunity to share their stories, and allow that to inform the work that we do, then we will be successful.
What are the upsides and downsides of doing town halls in Republican districts?
I believe it's about listening to people. It's not about where. I get stopped all the time, and I stop and talk and listen. It's not about, going one place or another place or, showing up and making a big fuss of it. It's making sure that people have an opportunity to be heard.
I mean, I was just going to say, because I'm going to be doing a few of these, and I think part of the reason is we're filling a void, right? We're filling a void that's left open by our Republican colleagues who are too scared to show up to town halls in their own districts because they're doing things that are not popular. And it's not just Democrats showing up, it's Republicans showing up. I know you've all seen the videos. Republicans showing up, independents showing up, and now they're being told, stop doing it, it's too much of a political liability, and that's not fair to their constituents. So it's Democrats going above and beyond and saying, even though I don't represent your district, I know you want to talk with a member of Congress, not just send a form online, not leave a voicemail. All that's really important, but you want to see someone face to face. And we as Democrats, we're going to fill these voids. And so that's part of the reason why many of us are doing that.
I don't have anything else to add.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you all for doing this. I know that House Democrats have coalesced around message around the economy and letting folks know that
It's what people care about.
Republicans feel that they have a winning message on issues like immigration, public safety, cultural war issues like trans rights. Sometimes they bring bills to the floor for some of those issues. Democrats kind of didn't have an answer during the election for some of these kind of culture war attacks. Do you all feel that you've shored that up going into 2026, especially on the culture war issues?
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that we do have answers. And I think part of what we need to do here is these controversial issues are issues that we as Democrats, we have positions on them that most Americans agree with. Just look at this past bill that they put on the floor, the trans sports ban bill, right? A lot of people in this country might not fully understand what it means to be a trans person. They might still be figuring that out, etc. But most people in this country are against discrimination. Most people in this country don't want people to be bullied. And that's what we leaned in on, the Child Predator Empowerment Act. That's something people can understand and get. And I encourage people to go back and look at that House debate because the Republicans were caught off guard because this is an issue that, yes, they have tried to capitalize on and fill a void, but we're standing strong. And we had from the most moderate members to the most progressive members and everyone in between on the same accord, talking about the same message during that debate on the news. Hell, even Fox News was calling it the Child Predator Empowerment Act too. And then because we stayed strong, our colleagues in the Senate stood strong, and it did not make it to the president's desk. That's how we win, being unified on a message that everyone can get behind, and that most Americans are in that position anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to add something. Just because we've all done multiple town meetings, and I have many more scheduled next week, I think it's really important to sort of elevate the actual issues that walk through the door. If I'm shopping at my grocery store or if I'm in a town hall, people are scared right now. They're scared that they're not going to have health care. They're scared that their parents aren't going to have their Social Security checks or Medicaid for assisted living. They are frightened that these core programs are going to compound the problems that they already have, which is when they go to the grocery store, they're panicked when they're at the register. And they're watching their 401ks go down the tubes because of tariffs put on our largest trading partner and our allies. This is irresponsible. So there's a lot of things that Republicans want to talk about. There's a lot of things that they want to put their campaign donations behind. But we're in touch with the American people because we face them every chance we get, and we listen to them. Republicans aren't doing that. Not only are they not facing their constituents as their representative, but they're allowing Elon Musk, someone who hasn't filed a financial disclosure, has a ton of conflict of interest, he is actually doing their job for them. So it's unacceptable. People are rightfully scared, and we are going to do whatever it takes to meet them where they are, assuage their concerns, use every tool that we have to fight for them, and win in 2026 so that we can get back the majority.
I was just going to add, it's really clear that the House Republicans, at least number one priority, is this big tax bill that they're working on. Let's talk about their priorities in the tax bill. $880 billion cut in Medicaid. That's people's health care, not just working people, kids, seniors. Donald Trump's own pollster put out a memo about 2 weeks ago that said the number one issue on the mind of Trump voters when it came to a tax plan was to extend the ACA tax credits. And these guys don't even want to have that conversation. They want to compound the harm by kicking people off their health care. I mean, the contrast could not be more clear. They're doing all of this in service of tax cuts to billionaires. They're billionaire donors. And I don't think that we should be distracted when we see polling data on issues like policies, what should be in the tax plan. We should not be distracted when we see polling head-to-head and people are asked, what's the number one issue that you vote on? Inflation in the economy. And then you see a party make their number one priority tax cuts for billionaires. They are the ones that are out of touch. We are the ones working hard for working people.
Last question. When do you guys pick?
Hi.
Your hand stayed up.
There we go. Well, so I know that some of the issues that DOGE has made hay with, they long predate DOGE. The Government Accountability Office identified $2.7 trillion in improper payments from, I believe, 2003 until 2023. And there have been some hearings and oversight where there's been bipartisan concern about improper payments. All that is to say, is there any way, given DOGE and given the prominence of Elon Musk, for Democrats to own on messaging aspects of some of those, reform elements, or is this an issue that it's just going to be difficult to bring to the forefront?
Look, I'll sit down and talk to anybody about waste and fraud, and I'd start with the Pentagon, to be perfectly frank. But this Meat Act's approach that we are watching is hurting innocent people every single day. I was at the VA the day after they announced VA cuts. I had veterans, and in the staff, while they're worried about what's going to happen, are more worried about veterans' care. The Detroit Dingle Hospital, I don't care who's Veterans Secretary, had issues. I went to the Secretary of Veteran Affairs. We got an Inspector General report that director was fired in a Democratic administration of the hospital. That's hard. And it's understaffed. And now you're going to cut them more? And by the way, when you talk about critical jobs, keeping the building heated, keeping the inventory there matters too. And when you're cutting things like research for burn pits, or we've had 30 years. I have had Vietnam vets that have died of Agent Orange. For 30 years, we have been making a promise and have a moral responsibility to take care of those veterans. We finally do it, and now we're not going to meet our obligation under the PACT Act? And I could go on. Last Friday, when I was at 2 Fridays ago, or 10 days ago, at the Veterans Hospital, downtown Detroit, they had just fired people at the Great Lakes Lab, and this woman just collapsed in my arms. Do you know the kind of work that's not going to get done? It's algae bloom and keeping the water safe. It's NOAA and weather and predicting floods. And It's safety. We're cutting air traffic controllers. How many air traffic events have we had? Firefighters that are fighting fires. I could go through the list. So you don't take a meat axe. We'll have a conversation, but you don't cut programs that are hurting people every single day.
Can I say one more thing?
You may say whatever you want.
So I do think Democrats are committed to modernizing our systems, rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse. I think there's a way to do that that is respectful of the programs that people rely on, respectful of the federal employees who could actually help us identify where some of those buckets of cost are that can be trimmed. That should be done in full view of the American people. It should be debated. It should be the role of Congress. It should not be left to a billionaire who has not been elected, who has not been vetted by the Senate or the administration, who has multiple billion-dollar contracts with the DOD, with the FAA, with the FDA, to go through and start wiping out personnel and programs that people rely on. That is just not the way to do it. It is Congress's role to do that, and that is something where we're fully committed to doing those audits and rooting out fraud, abuse, and waste, but I think that we want to do that in full view of the American people.
Would you agree that the Pentagon is an area that requires?
Absolutely. The Pentagon hasn't passed an audit since I've been in Congress.
Well before that.
That's it. Thank you very much. It's
Thank
good
you.
to see you all.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I just fixed. We're gonna have to redo the whole thing and create them. Also, the Eagles aren't in any of the shots or the videos. They'll be fine.